Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for you to meet Jennifer. Jennifer is in my manifesting mastermind, and has really, her whole aura is different now than when she started. So I was so excited that she finally said yes to come on and chat with me about her mastermind experience and what her journey has been so far. So, Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Good.
Mm,
Well, I wanted
Looking
to
back
ask.
on it, looking back on it, I used to say the same thing, but I'm not sure I actually was that. I think I just sort of said it.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you because before you started Mastermind, we had chatted a few times, and you actually at one point had worked with a coach about figuring out what other kind of job you could do because you weren't happy.
Mhm.
And then when we were talking about the mastermind, we both kind of thought that we must be working on that. So, how did it actually go for you?
Well, the when I first started and did the survey and I put down what it was I wanted to change, I started with the job simply because I kept, you know, not just in my own mind, but from conversations with others, was told, well, you just need a new job. You need to do something you're more in tune with. And for some reason, that I gathered that would make me happy, or that
Right.
would bring me to what I was looking for, whatever that happened to be, because that's part of my the problem I've noticed in the last few years. Someone says, "Well, what do you want to do next?" I'm like, "I don't know, because I've never answered what do I want to do when I grow up?" And I haven't gotten there yet. So, um, I think when I started doing the mastermind and started doing the one words and thinking about it and taking the classes and doing the meditations and stuff like that, I suddenly realized what I really needed was to be happier just in myself.
Inside, right. Right. And I'm glad you brought up the one words, because when we're in mastermind, we always do little check-ins, and then I always ask everybody, what's your one word? How are you feeling tonight when you come to the computer? And you and I were chatting about how I went back through the weeks, and when you first came to mastermind, you were annoyed, perturbed, anxious, not feeling good, all the stuff. And it has changed, right? What are
Mhm.
your one words like now? How are you feeling?
Calm, peaceful, patient is the one from the last couple weeks.
Yes.
Just, flowing, going with the flow. I don't feel like there's any, you know, turbulence. There is, because things change, but it's not causing me the levels of perturbedness and anxiety and annoyance. Because I used to be
Right.
annoyed with pretty much everything.
Yeah, and it seems like when I talked about, your aura at the beginning, when we first started meeting, you always looked tense. Your jaw was tense. You just looked tense.
Mhm.
And now you come on and you're smiling. The other night I'm like, wow, look at your hair. I mean, just everything physically. Are you feeling better?
Yes, yes. And in fact, most mornings, the only thing that really bothers me when I get up is I get up out of bed and I realize, okay, you are definitely, 50, because you need a few steps before your body goes, oh, yeah, that's how you
Oh
walk.
yeah, I remember how to walk.
But I don't wake up in the level of pain I used to always be in.
That's
So
so incredible. And do
mm,
you think some of that is because you have found some peace and happiness from inside?
I think so, because a lot of times when I would wake up in the morning, um, I could tell I was grinding my teeth all night.
Mhm.
I would be in a great deal of pain in my jaw and my neck, which then went down to the shoulders where I already had issues. So having that tensed up did not help with that issue. Um, I'm sure there are still some nights when I grind my teeth because of whatever's going on, but I don't wake up needing to
In
look for
pain.
Tylenol or something.
Oh, good. Yay. That's good news.
Mhm.
Well, what have you learned doing the mastermind that you think was like a light bulb moment, like made a big difference?
Oh boy. Um, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I've been trying to think about it even more lately. And it, um, hmm, I don't know if it was any one thing, if that makes
Mhm.
sense, because with each Wednesday when we would talk and we would do one of the rituals, um, and I would then, either pull my own tarot during the week, and for some reason they'd always seem to link up.
Yes.
Because even like when we did the year, this month is for trust. And so what we were doing yesterday and what you pulled on Sunday,
Oh, you're
all of
right.
it is about trust again. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to work on this a little bit. If no matter where I think I'm at, does not mean I should stop there. So
Right.
so it's not been one particular aha moment. It's been more of a building blocks
A
for me.
growth. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. A steady growth. One of the things I wrote down last night at during the circle when you were doing your check-in, I wrote down there's power in patience, faith, and trust. Because you so you and I both associate ourselves as impatient people. But as we have been, doing the mastermind and all that kind of thing, you have more and more been going, I don't know, I'm not stressed. I'm patient. And last week you found jobs, but you were like, these aren't going to bring me joy. These aren't the one, and that's so new and different. And I feel like sometimes people come to manifesting for a thing. They think they need a thing to manifest, but I feel like you have manifested this new connection with your own intuition and your
Mhm.
spirit guide and I just feel like now you walk in trust, right? I mean, it's been
Yeah.
amazing.
Most of the time, I think I do that. I know there are still things I need to continue building on, but when I stop and just sort of think, okay, what do I feel right now? It's still the same peace and calm. There are things that can still rattle me, but then again, I think that happens to everybody.
Hmm.
So I just have started to learn not to let it affect every aspect of my life. Whereas in the past, if it was one thing, I just would associate it with everything, and everything needed to be fixed, everything needed to be changed. That doesn't really solve anything.
No, and we talk about it sometimes in circle too, that it's almost like giving someone else your power, because the only thing really in life we have control over is ourselves and our emotions. And so if you allow someone to ruin your entire day, it's like you handed them all your power. So it feels kind of like you have sort of like figured out how to hold on to that, right?
Yeah, I think I have, but I've also noticed that I tend to be more in touch with my emotions too, which I think kind of helps that, is because I recognize it. And then I think, no, that's not that they don't deserve that. I don't deserve that.
I Yes, I love that. They don't deserve that
Mhm,
rise out of you. I love that. That's a great way of putting it, because that's kind of what it is, right?
mhm. Yeah, it really does help when you're dealing with people, like on the weekend job I have, where I'm dealing with people constantly. Um, they all insist I'm extremely patient and calm and stuff like that, and I'm like, "Not really." Even when I was working on it and not realizing that's what I was working on, that's where I was
Mhm.
growing.
Right.
I have just learned as a project manager to maintain complete politeness and professionalism 24/7, which I think was not helping the problem, or not necessarily a problem, but not helping me grow.
Right. It wasn't helping you grow because you were just repressing everything. You
Yes.
weren't really learning how to let that go.
Right. So they all assumed I was always like that, and clearly I knew I wasn't. I was just really grateful they just saw the facade.
Right, right.
You know?
Well, you mentioned that you pull cards during the week for yourself.
Mhm,
And I think everyone knows when they start working with me, tarot is like the base of everything for me, just because it's a tool for you to be able to tap in and see how things are going. And when you pull cards that reflect, maybe what happened in circle or what's happening to you now, does that encourage you to trust your intuition and that piece of that there is a plan and I'm part of it, right?
Yeah, it really does. Sometimes I just simply pull a card and say, okay, what should I expect this weekend? And when I did that last Friday for the weekend, I got Queen of Wands, and I'm like, okie
Oh,
dokie, I'm in charge.
yes.
Um, and I was like, okay, but how does it relate to the other stuff? And I thought maybe it doesn't have to relate to anything, just the question I asked. And
Mhm.
that's something else I have to remind myself of. It's, a lot of times the answer is just to the question I'm asking for, not
Mhm.
to life.
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of times with tarot cards, you can start, if you overthink it, you can make it mean
Mhm,
anything. So I always encourage you, just your first, when you flipped it over, that's your answer, because that was the moment you were tapped in.
mhm, yeah. And I think the fact that I've been trying to make sure I better understand what all the different cards mean.
Hmm.
Wands is action, and then it's queen, and so that the first thought was I'm in charge. Uh,
Yeah.
and some of the other ones that are the numbers, I still have to sort of look it up, or I go, let me see what Lisa said on this because
That's okay. That's okay. Um, that's why when you're in the mastermind, you also get the practical tarot videos so you can double check. Um, what would you say to somebody who is thinking about it? What would you say to them?
to joining the mastermind,
Hmm.
I'd say if you're thinking about it, that you should. And you don't have to necessarily come with exactly what you want to reach, because obviously what I thought I wanted is I still
Right.
do, but now I have a different perspective of how
Hmm.
and why I want to go there.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to solve maybe for my life or for the family. And whereas before I was just thinking everything, if I just did it, I'd be happy. That's not really the way to go. But if you're thinking about joining, you should, because even if you don't know where you want to be, like I didn't, it will still help you because you'll be able to start seeing a little clearer into yourself.
Yes.
Um, Not necessarily the world, because let's face it, it's that.
Right. Everyone has free will. We can't change the world, only us.
And I was watching something recently and they asked that question, and the person looked at him and said, everyone has free will. You all create your own anomaly. And I
No.
was thinking, oh my goodness. Um, that's not necessarily a happy perspective, but at the same time, you can create your own fate. You can create
Hmm.
your own anomaly based on
Yes.
what choices you make. And that's kind of empowering when you think about it. And I don't
Uh-huh.
think I would have put that together if I hadn't been coming to the manifesting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you agreed to chat today, because so often, again, people are looking for a thing to make them better. And I know that was how you approached it at the beginning, but I think what you found is that you've had the thing all along, right?
Yep,
I love that. How empowering is that? I just love
it's
it.
wonderful.
Yeah. And I know that, we've talked and you have things coming up. I just know it's all going to fall into place. And I think it's going to be such a huge miracle that I hope I get to witness it. I'm like, oh, but so I'm
Yep.
completely sucked into your journey, by the way, Jennifer.
Oh, okay. Well, I am too. So,
But
but
seeing you
I
smile and
appreciate
laugh is great.
yeah to, it, to be able to do that where I actually feel the laughter and not just laugh
Right.
is makes a whole world of difference.
For sure, for sure. And one last thing,
Mhm.
when we started, you had this issue with, you mentioned it once already, with family. You have parents who are getting older. And when we met first, it was kind of like a throw your hands up issue of, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to do. And one wants me to move here, and one wants me to move there, and I don't know what to do. And it made you really frazzled just to talk about it. But now it seems like there's a little hope, right? And that the universe is going to put it together. Have you been able to release that so that it's not a burden on you every day?
For the most part, yes, daily. Sometimes in talking to them, I can start to feel it come back.
Uh-huh.
Um, But my spirit guide sort of, says, no, that's it. We're gonna,
Yes,
let
we're
that
gonna
go for a
lighten up.
while. Yeah. But for the most part, I know it'll work itself out. It'll all come the way it's supposed to.
Yes, there's that trust. I love it. Because really, when we worry, we're not making it any better. It doesn't do anything. So if you can get to a point where you can trust enough to release that, it takes a huge pressure off of you, and it is going to all work out. You know it.
Yeah, it will. It might take a little time, but I'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will be the way it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
instead of, us forcing it.
It doesn't quite work when you do that.
No. Well, is
And
there
it
anything
certainly
else
doesn't
you?
make anyone happy. Yeah.
True, very true.
You're just now closer together and unhappy. Ugh, no, thank you. I've decided that's not what I want.
No, no, we make our own misery. We can manifest that, so don't do that.
I don't want to manifest that. No. I want to keep manifesting to what I guess, sort of what I've walked into. Because since I wasn't really realizing that's what I needed, I just sort of stumbled
Right.
in and, you know.
Yeah, you allowed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks so much for being here today, Jennifer, and for sharing your experience. I'm so glad you're part of the mastermind, and thanks for talking about it.
Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.